Hi, I'm Allison.
Hi, I'm Justin.
And you're listening to the Otterly Owlsome podcast. Who knows what we'll talk about?
So yeah, they published that, I want to say, in 2021. So we've made a few edits along the way, but overall, I mean, we want you to have the experience and have the cert. So it's a combo of, soft skills, tech skills, so on.
Is it in the general?
Yeah, so under...
I think I got it. I think I do have access.
Onboarding and training, files, and then under onboarding, and it's called Subway Map.
Onboarding, Subway Map. Oh, I love you. This is beautiful. I love Carl, I guess.
Yes, you should love Carl because he did all of that hard work.
That is beautiful. I've never seen in my entire career anything that laid out for a career path.
And that well done. Like, it's just done very well and just, yeah. And very clear, in my opinion, on, what's expected. So
I love it.
Yeah.
And I think there's a similar gradation, is that the right word?
I think
for solution consulting from my perspective. There's you've got Brian Walker, who's really green, never done anything like this before, all the way up to someone really seasoned like Jim.
Yeah.
But there's no, Brian doesn't have anything to reference to go, well, how do I become a Jim?
He just knows we expect you to do these things, but can't go back and reference it.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah. I should have known you were thorough in your.
Oh, no, that's Carl. Like I said, that's Carl. 100% Carl gets all props on that.
Okay.
So, yeah. All I did was answer some questions.
Which is your role, right? Like that's you're officially a senior VP now.
I am now, as of December 4th.
And it's not senior because you're elderly. It's senior because you are.
Senior.
You're senior. I don't know where I was going with that. It's not because you're old. That's what I'm emphasizing.
Yes.
So you in that role, you would think that you would be more in a decision making.
Yes.
Advising in kind of directionally oriented role, I guess.
That's fair.
That's Justin's take on a senior VP. Because usually when I see senior VP, I roll my eyes and go, I have an opinion about it it's not compatible with how I understand Allison and your work ethic. So
yeah, that's fair. And I mean, I'm literally was on site for a project this week.
Yes. So tell us about this on site. What did you get to present?
So we are doing a phase 0, which is essentially a planning phase. And we also tell them, here's your roadmap that you should follow. This was a law firm in Midtown Atlanta. They were awesome. It was actually super great conversations. They're coming off Sharewell because Sharewell is end of life. So there was so much logic in the room. It was so refreshing.
Was it IT?
Yeah, so it was the IT group. And what I'm learning, because I've been on a couple different law firm engagements, is lawyers work a lot, So they told us that they expect their lawyers to bill 2,000 hours and work 3,000 hours. And I was like, so if you work 40 hours a week, that's 2,080 hours a year. And so I'm like, there to hit 3,000 hours. I mean, given that's only 20 more hours spread over the course of a year, which I'm like, okay, I've done that. But also I couldn't do it every year. So I'm just sitting there like, oh my God.
No, that's 920 additional hours.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a lot. Either way, I just was sitting there like, oh my God. And it's funny because, once again, all the other law firms had similar requirements or things that they were very cognizant of, is they were like, we don't want to email our lawyers. We need to be able to be very flexible with our notifications because they're busy and they have an assistant or a legal paralegal or whatever that manages their stuff.
Their inbox.
So we need to be able to turn them off or select don't send to them, send to their, like there's some very
delegation kind of stuff,
legal things, because they're busy and we don't want to bother them with this stuff because these are the expectations we have of them. And I'm just like at one point I wanted to be a lawyer and now I'm like
yeah, there's upsides and downsides.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was the main theme was, whatever we do, we just need to be cognizant that these people cannot sit and get bombarded with emails or, and things need to be timely. Like that was the theme, which makes total sense. So
is, my mind goes to things like Slack and Teams. Are they is that the preferred channel or,
yes.
or yeah? Okay.
And so their big thing was they're in Sharewell. They can't, start a Teams conversation from an incident or from major incident. And so I went and showed them that because they wanted, the first day we did our kickoff and none of them had really seen ServiceNow. So I did a demo and they were all like, oh my gosh. And because I don't know if you've seen Sharewell, but it's very, and this is not a dig on Sharewell. It's a great platform. Tons of people get great use out of it, but it's not as user interface friendly as ServiceNow, and everything is one ticket and there's just a drop down to indicate request or incident. I mean, but it's the same form regardless of which one you use. So some of it they were like, okay, this is going to take some adjusting. I'm like, yeah, I will. Right. But overall they liked it and they liked how easy it is to integrate, Teams, because I pulled up our demo instance for major incident. So
which demo instance? One of mine and one of yours. 7? Okay.
Just because I knew you had the Teams channel button on major incident.
Yeah.
So I showed them what it would look like. It doesn't work for me, but I could at least show them the button. So.
Yep. Someone from the UK team reached out and I'm like, it's kind of set up in 7, but I just tried it and it's not working. So
I just wanted to show them how it would look and
right.
all of that. So, but they're huge Teams users. They're, that's their service desk manager was in there and she was very everything they said, plus we have the after hours and then they're a global company. And so her biggest pain point, weirdly enough, was the timestamps. So if I'm in the use case she said was if someone in Manila opens something, we see it in our time zone and not their time zone of when it was open. So it's hard for us to understand how long it's been open based on their time zone and not ours. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
ServiceNow handles that pretty well. Everything's,
they do, yeah.
You're the architect, I know, but I think everything's stored in UTC time.
It is, but that was the problem is if I were to submit it and I was in London and you're in North Carolina, you would see it in your time zone, not mine. And so that's their big problem, which the last law firm I worked with had that same problem. And so we added I can't remember what it was, but we added a field that was read only that was time zone open date or something like that, just so that.
So you did have to do some extra work. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
So it didn't work out of the box.
Yeah. And then they wanted it to show what time zone that person was in. So we just had a field message or something that said what time zone the person lived in. Because I was like, well, it's on their user record. We're like, we don't want to click. And I'm
there's not a lot of people give Teams a lot of praise. But one of the things I appreciate about Teams is when I click on your head, or anybody else's head, it'll say they are 2 hours behind, yes, or they are 2 hours ahead. I'm like, oh, I love this.
Yeah. Well, in that law firm's defense, is they had people that traveled, so they wanted to be able to capture what time zone they were in when they called, because they might be.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Global company, probably nothing is easy.
Yeah, there's
a global company.
There were a lot of unique caveats that we're having, and not having to work around, but just they've had to customize Sharewell pretty heavily to do some of the stuff that they're doing. And, and because they've been on Sharewell for 15 years. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So that's a unique challenge. So you're almost, so let me just restate this from a solution consulting. You are going to look at customizations to a foreign system and try to map that to, like, do we need to customize, or is it already there? No?
So their CIO came in person to the kickoff. And, we kind of shared how we do these engagements and how, like, we're here to figure out. We were like, I said, I don't want to say we don't care what you did in Sharewell, because we don't. What we care about is what you need ServiceNow to do to meet your needs and what your requirements are, regulations. So I said, I don't really care if you had to customize Sharewell to shove, a square peg in a round hole. I care what did you need it to do. I don't care why
you want to start there.
Yeah, because it's certain. And he goes, great, because all we want is you to tell us in ServiceNow, what we should be doing. And I was like, well, you don't know what you don't know, so that's hopefully why you hired us. He was like, that's exactly why. So it's not that we don't care, but we don't care. I just need to know what their processes are, and then I can map them where they go. So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Where I was going with that, I was just thinking, like, if there was some weird time zone situation, like you were giving an example, sometimes it's easier to go like, oh, you've already solved this over here.
Yeah.
How did you solve it? And do we need to solve it the same way? Or can we take a shortcut now that, you've thought through it? That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Well, most of the people, so the service desk manager, she was awesome, because she was like, my team already has a wish list of things that they don't have today. That if you could even do like 2 of them, they would be so happy. And so she starts telling us some, and I'm like, bar is low. Okay, great. Because they were like, we want to be able to chat. I'm just like in ServiceNow, or just connect to Teams, or like what? And she goes, literally anything at this point. I was like, okay.
Wow. Yeah.
So,
that is a low bar.
Yeah.
But there's nothing better than having a low bar being like, yeah, that's out of the box. That's out of the box.
Yeah. And then and I know you're working on the extended legal app, so I actually have a new one for you to add to that.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I don't think that one, like, ground to a halt. I don't know what's going on with it. So
it was, if we have billable work, we need to focus on that, and we'll worry about the app in January.
Okay. Yeah, no one communicated to me. So it's just
you were out of office when that happened, I think. So
okay.
Yeah. But no, I have a new use case that I was told any law firm would want.
Sweet.
So, yeah. And
that was the whole point of that. Yeah.
Because he wants to know. So their CIO actually came back after our meeting and was like, so I have this system. I'm trying to figure out if ServiceNow does it or what the effort would be, so I don't have to purchase another system. He's like, I'd rather keep it there if it's possible and if the level of effort's low, instead of buying literally an entire other system.
Right.
Like, oh. So I wrote it all down to look into.
Yay. Love it.
Yeah. So yay.
That's a productive on-site.
It was. We were only there for a day and a half, so.
And then now they're excited and like want to probably do this tomorrow.
No, they're actually like I said, whenever we can get a CIO or senior level person in the room to like make sure everyone understands what's happening. So Sharewell is end of life, like hard stop, everything shut down, end of 2026. So December of 2026.
Okay.
And
wow,
so
seems far away.
It does, but when you start thinking about an implementation project, especially to replace an entire system, that could be 9-month year project. And so someone brought up, well, our support model they're using a different partner for support. And I won't name them just because protect the innocent. And then support with Sharewell. And so their CIO literally said, I am not going to put anyone on a timeline that's going to jeopardize the success and the quality of the project. So if we need to pay more months for support, that's what we'll do. And I was like,
Yeah, I'd say and you probably know this from given your day to day, but probably the most common frustration with implementations is the timeline is too soon. You don't give people enough time to digest and learn and adopt.
Well, and that's my concern with Sharewell being end of life is fortunately, and he even said, like, we're trying to be as proactive as possible so we don't get to 2026 and are now scrambling and have that condensed timeline. Like, we're starting now. We're starting with this conversation to set us up to make sure we're doing the right things. And then we have the time to implement and aren't rushed. So he was like, essentially, we have, 2 years to get everything done and right and stood up. And he was like, my hope is we have a little extra time or a lot of extra time to get, if there's data, if there's whatever that we need to take off for audit. Because I was like, are you wanting to do legacy data? And he goes, your face is telling me, you're wanting me to say no. He goes, Samson told me not to. And I was like, thank you. I said, please don't. Please. So he goes, I'm good with that. I was like, okay. No.
Yeah, I just heard my echo. Am I echoing? No? Okay. I heard my laugh after I laughed. That was weird. No, I was going to say, was like, why can't that be every CIO? I wish more were like that.
Yeah,
sounds reasonable and well measured and thoughtful.
He was reasonable. He was logical. He was being proactive about what was going, because they're doing a follow the sun model. So that's their whole MO is follow the sun. And it's funny because like some of the people in the room were like, I know where the bodies are buried. And I'm just like, okay.
It's a strange thing for a law firm to say.
Well, because one of the guys that was there, so one of the other unique things, so I don't hear this often anymore, almost everyone in that room had been at the company for at least 10 years. Wow. Like our project manager on the project, who's awesome, has been there 18 years. The admin who has had ServiceNow for the past 3 years, I want to say he took it in 2020. He's been there like 14 years. The guy that used to own ServiceNow has been there for like 15 years. And I'm just sitting there like, this is so great. Like they know. Yeah. Their senior service desk manager has been there. I can't remember how long she said. Like the newest person was the CIO. He's been there 4 years. I'm just like.
That's refreshing. Yeah.
I know. It's nice that, they all, and they were all on the same page. Like there wasn't, for now. I know that'll change.
Yeah. You got to find the bodies. Yeah. And the laundry. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Or let's just say laundry. Less than no bodies, just dirty laundry. Yeah.
I think he ended up changing it to skeletons.
Skeletons. Oh my God. The bodies have been there forever.
Yes, forever.
They've had time to decompose.
Yeah. But no, it was good. It was good 2 days. And we had a really nice dinner. And the area we stayed in was like Midtown Atlanta. So not the sketchy part. So we had a good time.
I've never had a bad trip to Atlanta. I usually like my visits to Atlanta.
But from what so David used to have to go there like every week, I think. And there are areas that are not.
Sure, yeah.
But where we've ever stayed, we either stay at the Battery and then I stayed in Midtown. And then when he took Mia to a 21 Pilots concert, they stayed downtown, but near, the arenas and stuff, which.
And you went to a Braves game there too.
Yeah, that's where the Battery is. It's very.
The Battery, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's right. We had an episode where you described it. That's right. I remember now. I remember taking notes.
Yes. And one of the guys, that's the admin for Sharewell and will be for ServiceNow, we think. His cousin is a chef on Food Network.
No way.
Yeah. Or like he's been on like Top Chef. Like he's been on some of the shows. And he has 5 restaurants in Atlanta.
Just 5.
Just 5. Like he said that, like, yeah, he's got 5. I think he's opening. I was like, 5. I was expecting
just 5.
1, Yeah. So that was cool to learn that about him and just chat.
No, it seems like based on the tenure you mentioned, it seems like it might be a good place. Obviously, it's a good place to work, otherwise people would leave. Yeah. But then also might be a really good partner.
Yeah.
If the CIO stays true. That's been my other experience too, is CIOs in front of the group will say certain things. and then you get behind a closed door, and it's like, then you get the real deal, and hopefully you don't have that.
He came back later, after everyone left. It was kind of like, our goal in partnering with you is because we want a partnership, and this beginning project will kind of dictate. He was like, I want this to go well and us to use you for the implementation. So he was like, I'm not saying it's all dependent on this project, and I'm like, well, no, that's any project. Like, it's always the last impression. Like, do you want to keep using them or not? So it's like, that's totally fair. If this sucks, like, you're not going to want to do business with us. Like, that's logical.
Yeah.
So, but he was very open about it. He was like, they met Samson at the ILTACon conference or whatever.
Yeah.
And he was like, everything he said was exactly what we need. I'm like, awesome. So,
Sweet.
way to go, Samson.
Yeah. Samson's he's pretty thorough. And he's pretty if you explain it to him, he's pretty good at translating that to potential customers.
Yeah, very true.
Well, I love that you're getting your what we're going to call that, your road mapping muscle exercised.
CMA points.
CMA points. There you go. How are you doing on that? You should be like with the podcast and your webinars.
Well, my thought leadership, I'm good. I have that in spades. It's the continuing education I'm struggling with because I don't have the time to sit and take training.
You're too busy teaching training, yeah.
I know. Which I'm not doing the January cohort, which is a little sad because I did enjoy it, but I have too many like travel things, and I felt bad like last minute, having to bail out sub. So
I know you give out my name at these events because they tell me when they connect with me, and so we'll give a shout out to someone who waited till they graduated. I guess because they graduated. Is that?
Yes, they graduated last week.
So their name is Ya.
Yeah, I love her.
Yes,
It's so great.
She reached out and she's like, Allison gave me your contact information. I was like, awesome, an extra program. I'm like, I hope you're enjoying it. And she's like, yeah, graduation was great. I'm like, read back up. I'm like, oh, she did say she had completed it.
Yeah.
Because I thought she was in the middle of it.
Nice. Yeah, so at the end, the woman who's over Next Gen, her name's Selena, she recorded like a little video, like congratulating them on completing the course. And she was like, what's cool about it is they actually get like alumni services. And so they have guest speakers come in and talk about the interview process or building a resume and like what to expect, which is really cool. But she also said, if you're not on LinkedIn, get on LinkedIn, start building your brand. Don't worry about like, try to get out of your own way, post. And she said, follow people that are big in the ecosystem. So I gave a couple names. Yours was one of them.
Thank you. That's my heart.
Because I was like, Justin's videos are awesome, and
Aww.
He has such great knowledge, and so they were all. I gave out a couple names. So
I appreciate that. It's
I was
funny.
I love Justin. It's like you need to follow him.
No, it means a lot. I came off yesterday. I did I haven't published it yet, but I did another comment video, and the comments are sometimes they can be good and they can be stressful.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times, people come and they're like, I followed the video and I'm getting this error, or this isn't working.
Yeah.
And every one of these episodes, I'm like, I can't troubleshoot from YouTube. Like, and so it makes me sad. Like, like these people are reaching out, but it's like, I can't, like, this isn't the forum. Like, you can't put a screenshot. Like we can't have a conversation.
Well, not only that, like, troubleshooting is hard when you're not, like, in the system and you're trying to direct someone. Because so at the end of the cohort, they all had to build an app and do which was awesome. Like, they were all very creative. It was great to see all of it. And some of them, I was like, y'all are taking on too much. You have like 2 weeks to build this. But I'm trying to like direct them. And I'm like, only I could just grab that mouse and just do it. But I mean, it was good for me to be forced to, try and walk someone through it because I have problems. So.
I mean, that's true mastery is you being able to do that. That's how you know you've mastered your craft.
Well, there were a couple where I was like, because one of the groups was wanting to do something a little unique that involved code. I don't write code that often anymore, so I'm like, I think this will work. I gave it to them, and they were like, "Oh, that worked." I'm like, "Thank the good Lord," because one of them was like, "We're trying to do this date time calculation." I was like, I can't. As you learned a minute ago, I can't even do that in real life, let alone in code. So, fortunately, so you have 2 TAs, and the 2 I had, one of them, they might have both been, but he happened to be in the room. He's like, "I can help." I'm like,
that's awesome.
That one. So,
well, it's actually one of the things I love about ServiceNow is that you don't need to code, but you can code. And then there's some times where it's like, if you want to take it to that next level of awesomeness.
Yes. And so that's why they were struggling. They were trying to do it in Flow Designer. And you know my feelings about Flow Designer. I was like, this really needs to be a scheduled job. This is really why we would need to do it that way. And they were like, okay. And so we're having to step back. And
you know you can schedule flows, right?
I know, but you know that I don't do that. And if I can avoid Flow Designer.
Oh my God, I would
rather go write a scheduled job that takes me 2 seconds instead of having to. There are a lot of things that I learned about Flow Designer that I thought were great. But there were other things I was like, this is too overly complicated based on what I used to be able to do very quickly. And now I have to go build these actions and like do all these extra steps when before I could just quickly do it. And that's my big complaint. There were other things I was like, okay, this makes sense. But others I was like, why? Why is it this complicated to get the variables of what was requested?
You have to look up the variables, and then you have to move them over from this side to this side and say that you want to use them in your flow.
Yeah, and before I didn't have to do all that. I could just do current.variables.blah. And now I can't do that.
Nope, yeah, you can't do that.
It makes me sad.
Speaking of that, there's this is along the same lines. I was in Flow Designer, but I needed to script something, and I still haven't fixed it. I wrote it down. And when you're in Flow Designer and you want to do that current.variables, whatever, the equivalent is fd_data, so Flow Designer _data dot, and then you hit that dot key and you wait for it to pull up your different actions, and you can navigate that way. Well, it wasn't working. And so I'm like, I don't know what to do. The dot is not giving me the options, and I can't do this without the options. So
that's funny.
I'm dependent in a different way than I'm dependent on Flow Designer, like you're dependent on business rules. Does that make sense?
Back to Workflow Editor.
Yeah, like I can't do it without Flow Designer, and you can do it faster without Flow Designer. Yeah, I guess that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Do you need to go somewhere? We ran over. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have a meeting in like 10 minutes.
Okay. Well, we didn't even decide our price threshold. We could do it live, right?
Yeah.
Do you want, or do you not want to do it live? I can cut.
Oh, I don't care.
All right.
I just need your address.
Well, that I'm not giving out on the podcast.
Well, no, I'm not giving one either. Unless someone wants to send me wine.
They could probably figure out my address, but let's see. Oh God, people have been chatting with me. Wow, this focus mode actually works.
I know, I love it. It's my favorite because it suppresses everything.
I'm teamsing you my address right now.
You still have mine, or do I need to send it again?
I still have yours because I had to mail you something.
You mailed me the stickers.
The stickers, yeah. So I'll just go. I know where that is. So, okay, dollar amount and theme. We're not the only ones doing this, by the way. Service Ducks is doing something similar.
Oh, really? Okay.
But you thought of it before I heard them talk about it, so I think it doesn't matter who's first, but yeah, we're not copying.
Yes. Theme. I think we should do I'm trying to figure out how to say it. Things that I think would help you with like your hobbies or your interests, or like things that I just, based on like what we talk about, like running and turkeys and
So outside of work stuff.
Yes, outside of work stuff. Like things that I know you're interested in.
All right. I got some podcasts to listen to.
Whatever, we talk all the time.
You gave a thumbs down. What was that?
Oh, I didn't mean to. I was doing this. Here, I'll do the yay.
Okay, so theme is something that has to do with our life outside of work and a maximum of
$50.
$50? Okay.
$50. I feel like that's a good amount.
$50 smackaroos.
And we need to mail it. How long did those stickers take? Like 2 weeks? Not 2 weeks, 2 days?
2 days. I think it was like 2 days.
So if we have it by like next week, like sent so that it gets by our podcast. And what's our podcast next week? Is it on Monday?
Well, Monday, yeah, unless you like have a conflict.
Well, we can do Monday and then maybe just do a second one next week and we'll open it at the second one.
Okay.
And then that way we have an extra for the Christmas week because we're probably both out some during the holidays.
I was going to try to do an extra one this week too. Like we can pile them on.
Yeah.
It looks like Thursday afternoon you have a big old gap.
I do.
Is it cool if I snag one? Yeah, this week.
Yeah, this week. That's fine.
I figured we could bank a couple because we got Christmas, New Year's week, and if we have a couple in the hopper, as they say. Are you taking PTO?
Yes, I am. I will have a couple days off. They're not all in a row, so.
I'll just look at your calendar. Do you put them on your calendar?
Yes. I haven't put on some of it, though, so.
All I ever see is, like, Dan and Chris's stuff on your calendar.
I'll do that after this.
Okay.
So
we got our maximum. Hobbies outside of work. I might just send you a case of wine.
It can be funny. It can be funny. It can be not funny.
Oh, I'll find something. I will search the TikToks.
I do. Ooh, we did order. So, Mia is a bit of a picky eater, but she'll always eat like chicken or chicken nuggets. And I saw emotional support nuggets that were little stuffed animals. And so it's like a basket with like little individual nuggets in it. So we got her that for Christmas.
Emotional support nuggets. ISN. No, IEN. IESN. ESN.
Yes.
ESN. Jeez, I don't know where I came from.
Well, I was just trying to figure out what you were trying to spell, but I got it now.
Okay, sweet. This was fun. Happy hump day.
New job, Justin.
Thank you very much.
Director of Solutions.
Appreciate that. We'll see how this all shakes out.
It'll be great.
It'll be an adventure, and I'm glad you're here with me on the adventure.
And I'm glad that I'm dealing with you and not potentially an external person.
Yeah, that was a big factor. Trust me. So cool.
Right.
Look for an invite for tomorrow afternoon too. I'm gonna send it over. All right.
Sounds good.
Ciao. See ya.
Bye.